Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. It's time to talk about some things that are changing in the next major update, mainly to do with Naval, but also to do with some other ideas too. Looks like Gaijin is listening to feedback, and they are changing a few things, and basically going to be not fully bringing in a new system, which was talked about. When it comes to Naval, they were adding in a new kind of repair setup, and to be honest, it had a lot of backlash from me and also many others, just because of what it was. This was the new damage control mechanic that they were bringing in. It basically took away your control of being able to balance out your repair and also your fire prevention and the unwatering, and put it all into one place where it would automatically be done. And this was a problem because, first of all, it takes away your agency, and second of all, it actually takes away quite a lot of gameplay because you are no longer controlling those systems. And a lot of people on the forums who play Naval were going on about how this wasn't a great move, and I've got to honestly agree with them. And then we got a community post. This was from Magazine 2, who is one of the community managers. He said, "Hey everyone, we'd like to thank you for leaving your feedback on this new mechanic. We have read and passed everything and discussed it together as a team and would like to tell you about the changes we'll be making. Based on your feedback, we'll be making the new damage control mechanic optional. You'll now have the option to toggle between the old and the new system in the hangar. The new damage control mechanic will be on by default, and any player who wishes to use the old mechanic will be able to use it through the toggle under menu options and then naval battle settings. We're readying the major update for release now, and we're working to implement this as an option ready for the update. We aim to implement the change either with the Spearhead major update or shortly after. Once again, thank you for leaving your feedback on this mechanic. We always appreciate your responses. See you soon." And this is very positive. This is Gaijin listening to the community, listening to the feedback and going, maybe a bunch of people won't like this. But this is also the perfect solution, because now you can give people access to the new mechanics so they can test it and see if they like it, and also keep the old mechanic around if they prefer that. And then you can get statistics based on how many people are using the old mechanic and how many people are using the new mechanic. And you can work out which one actually is better in terms of the players. Because as we've said many times, people will just say one thing and then they will do another. And that is one of the big issues with feedback in general, but also in video games. People will talk about how much they dislike something and then they will just do it anyway, because it turns out they didn't dislike it that much. It was actually something else to do with the part of it. Maybe it was like the research part of it, or maybe it was a different part that they disliked, so they continued to do it anyway. But with this one, I think it's solidly in the camp of people just don't like this. One of the problems with Naval, and this has been an issue pretty much going on a year now, is they just keep making a metric ton of random changes. I don't know whether it's to try and bring in new players. I don't know whether it's because it's not working in their head, like the player amount is not enough, so they feel like they have to keep doing these drastic changes, but it's just not working, because every time you do this drastic change, you then alienate a bunch of people who enjoyed it previously, and what it ends up being is a race to the bottom where you keep alienating different parts of the community, and eventually you're going to be left with nothing. For me personally, the alienating part was when they changed the aiming mechanics in arcade, where they made it super simple and basically made it where you didn't have to aim at all. Now, you can use realistic aiming as an individual, which is fine, but guess what? Everybody else has auto-aim in arcade because that's the system that they added. So now, in the gameplay, you just have to keep doing loops over and over again, otherwise you're just going to keep getting hit, and if you don't have a speeded vehicle, if you don't have the mobility mods, you're just going to keep getting hit anyway. So it just made it impossible to be able to grind out vehicles and also have fun. So that was my area where I got alienated. They did a bunch of changes in terms of armor, and also how damage has been taken in by vehicles, trying to reduce survivability. We even have another one in this update, which is this mechanic where they're just trying to reduce survivability of vehicles because stuff is too tanky. They don't want things lasting whole matches, and they're trying to find a way of being able to destroy these big behemoths of ships and also give smaller ships a chance against them. And they've alienated a ton of people doing that. So with these changes, it honestly feels like there's just one dude just throwing darts at a wall going, right, we've got to make this work. We've got to get people interested in this. How do we do this? Well, let's change this. Let's change this. Let's change this. I can't remember a time when it comes with Naval where it has just been left alone for maybe like a few months. Every major update has some kind of major thing that is changing the way that Naval plays, and it's just very hard to keep on top of, especially when it comes to the expansion of vehicles that they've done this year, and also with more submarines supposedly coming in too. Maybe at the end of the year or maybe in the next year. How is that going to affect stuff in the meta too? But when you think about like ground in general doesn't really change as much. Yes, you get new mechanics. Yes, you get like new missiles, or maybe, you know, you get the SAMs that were this year, or you get more SPHs, which is the expansion of another mechanic. You get like little changes here and there with like recon drones, for example, and how they fix those. But you don't get these massive swaving, oh, all of your armor and all of your damage mechanics have been completely changed. And then it's 2 months, and then they get completely changed again. So it's just this never-ending cycle of craziness when it comes to Naval, and I just really wish they would just leave it alone for a bit. And if they can't leave it alone, then this change is a positive one, because it means that people can play the way that they want to. Giving players a choice, giving players agency will always win out away from automation. The only people who enjoy automation are people who like playing with bots, or people who like to turn off their brain and basically play like a drone to be able to get research or SL out of the game mode. And that is not the type of player you want to appeal to, because that is one thing that kills a game mode. And the problem that War Thunder has is there is a lot of people right now who are hyper focused on just grinding and not actually enjoying the game. And once you make it a little bit tougher to grind, or they will constantly push to make the grind easier, but they're not having any fun doing it, and they burn out super quick. And that also happens in Naval, where there's a lot of people who either try and grind the big ships and they just fall apart, or they try and grind the game mode to be able to get SL, and they just use it as that, and then when they go on to the next area, they just kind of fall apart too, because once again, the mind is bust. So for me, when it comes to Gaijin and when it comes to what they do, I think this is a very positive kind of push, and I'm very happy that it actually got through, and hopefully this is something that can happen in the future with future mechanics, especially if they're designed to replace previous ones. I'm really hoping that it happens. Listening is always great, but giving the option is even better. As always, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank GMG Smiley, CD Beans, Chieftain Mike, EMN3 Galaxy, Tulio Pontecorvo, Brendan Quinn, Carrion Crow, Gus Irenicus, Pyman, Wartinder, Teddy, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, B. Young, Ozzy Panzer, Alan Hacker, Liam Shear, Opium Prime, Lafouche, Sem, Aslan, Uncle Bean, and Derek R. for supporting the channel.